Welcome to Searching for the Question Live. This is an AMA episode. AMA stands for Ask Me Anything. And of course, it's a little bit of a trick because if you were to ask me something that I didn't think I should answer, I would just ignore it. And that is what naturally happens. Our information exchange can neither be perfect nor can be completely transparent. But at the same time, we can see at each time what is the right balance in terms of the depth and the breadth of information transfer. And there are already questions coming in, both on the various platforms where you are watching this episode, as well as on the specific page that I set up and that I will show you both for reading and answering the questions, as well as to illustrate some tools and processes as we frequently do. So thank you, Thi. I am not going to try to pronounce your name. I assume it is Vietnamese, and Vietnamese is a beautiful and very difficult language. There are many tones, many sounds, and I would love to learn it more. And T is complementing my library, and it is actually going all around my study. You are only seeing a little part of it. As a matter of fact, it is a green screen, but the photo that I'm showing you on the green screen is the photo of the real library behind the green screen. I like these crazy interactive parts. And thank you for telling me that Hien is your first name. And thank you for allowing me to address you with your first name. So let me show you the platform that I set up. My website, davidorban.com, that you are welcome to visit, is based on WordPress. And I always like crowdsourcing information. Now, having a list of questions that are coming in, or observations like Hien, who is telling us that he's from Germany. And Hien, thank you for watching. Feel free to ask a question as well. So crowdsourcing is absolutely fine, but crowdsourcing is not enough because the crowd can be unruly, indisciplined, or actively disruptive. The crowd can be a problem if there are not systems to nudge it towards constructive directions. So one of the things that works is, of course, the system that itself allows the best things to come forth. And the simplest is voting. So voting on questions is something that you can do, and you can do it on davidorban.com/searching for the question live/AMA. So if you go there and you vote on the existing questions, the most relevant, most important, most urgent questions will be there first. And you can also ask your own question or add it to the tally of questions that can be voted. At the end, when you submit your votes, it is a little bit confusing because I didn't have the time to personalize the page so that it wouldn't say submit your answers. In this case, the entries on the poll are themselves questions, but please don't be confused by this little incoherence in the semantics of the system. So before we go to the questions on the page, because I want to give you time to go and read and vote and add your own, why don't I take some of the questions that come from the various platforms where people are following the show. And you know that I am simultaneously streaming to Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and Twitch. So whichever is your favorite, it doesn't matter. Emiliano is asking, what was your first computer? So when I grew up in Hungary, the computers were, of course, still electronic brains that people would keep in air-conditioned rooms, and only a priesthood of white-clad specialists would be allowed to go and touch them. But the first personal computer that I owned was a ZX80. Then I had the ZX81. The 80 was white, the 81 was black. And I am sharing a Chrome tab, but why don't I try to switch over to another tab quickly and show you the ZX80 image on Google. There you go. So what I will do is stop the screen share of the Chrome tab and start the screen share of the Chrome window instead, which will be a little bit uglier because you will see my tab bar and the various extensions that are visible here. You see that I opened an incognito window so that you wouldn't be bothered by anything that hangs around in my browser normally. But I actually enabled some extensions in the incognito mode as well, because yes, I do want ads to be stopped, and I do want articles to be saved, and I do want shortcuts to be saved as well. Probably there are other extensions that are there too. So back to the question, the ZX80 is what I had as my first computer, and then 81, which was this one, and then of course the various spectrums. I had the Spectrum 16, 48. I didn't have the Spectrum QL, and then I had the VIC 20, and then I also had the Commodore 64, and they were the same, so I'm not showing them separately. The color, I mean, they looked the same. They were not the same, they just looked the same. And then I had the Amiga, which was just an amazing computer. It was really, really ahead of its time. It had multitasking, overlapping windows, stereo sound, sprite management, a gazillion colors. It had an architecture that allowed subsystems to have different functions, a GPU, a sound chip, and I actually had, which I don't know how many people even understand what I'm talking about, and apologies if I'm, I had the Amiga 2000 with the Janus board. And what was interesting about it is that the Amiga 2000 looked like a regular PC, but with the Janus board, it became kind of a multi-processor host. And you could run simultaneously tasks on the Amiga and then a separate operating system, as it were, on the Janus board, which was an IBM PC compatible card that you would stick into the main computer. And then after that, I had the first Macintosh. Neither of these, the original Macintosh. I had this one, No, not the classic. Doesn't want to come up. There you go. This is the one. I had this one with the external floppy disk reader. Actually, I had the one that was barely usable, almost unusable, because it was always asking you to swap floppies back and forth. All right, that was a fun question. Thank you, Emiliano. Gio is commenting from Romania that he built his own computer in '87, which was a Spectrum compatible. Wow, that is cool. And lots of questions. I am so happy to see so many questions coming in. I will try to answer more rapidly so that we can answer many questions. Emiliano is asking, did you stop shaving your beard during the quarantine? No, I started, I think, in November, and I would use a trimmer to keep it short, and then I stopped, and I don't know how long it will go. My friend Aubrey de Grey has a fantastic beard, and I don't know if I will go as far as having a beard like this, but I am having fun keeping it for the moment. So so there you go. So let's look at some other question. Christopher Ruth is saying the whole world is on lockdown right now. Isn't it just pure science fiction? It is just amazing. Eda Fetahu, where are you from, Eda? I love your question, and I would love to learn your current physical location, as well as if it is different where you were born. So Eda thinks, what is the future of the food sector through technology? There are a lot of important implications in this question, all wonderful ones, and they will deserve episodes dedicated to them. I hope that we will have, for example, some of the pioneers of synthetic meat on the show. The ability to grow animal protein without the industrial process of giving birth, growing, and slaughtering an entire animal. And coupled that technology with hydroponics, LED lighting, and our ability to dig at a very much reduced cost, which the Boring Company is now developing, is going to enable to transform food production from a system that is that has an output proportional to the area available, like it is today, with, of course, our cattle occupying a lot of fertile land because we grow corn to feed them, or soy, or whatever other animal feedstock. And of course, we would like them to roam free, even if in the end we kill them and we eat them. But what is going to be possible is to actually have the food production to be proportional to the volume available. And that is incredible, because we will be able to give back to nature so much of the land today occupied by agriculture, and we will be able to grow extremely high quality, very high variety food in very close proximity to where it is consumed, for example, in the basement of a New York skyscraper, or anyway close to you. Now, these are just a couple of hopefully stimulating inputs to your question, Eda, that requires really more time, and we will dedicate it. Kaveri is sending her greetings from India. Greetings back to you. I love to see that the time zones are not a limit to what we can do, because hopefully not because Kaveri cannot sleep, but because she is curious and she wants to participate. Let's look at another question online, and then I will look at the tab with the questions again. So, Davide Borra from Italy is asking, do you think the metaverse will be effective in the future? So, I have used immersive virtual worlds, which I don't like to call virtual because, in my opinion, physical and digital are both real. So the term virtual worlds and virtual reality are perceived as being of second class rather than the physical world where we have evolved and we grew up, right? I don't believe it is second class. As a matter of fact, I believe that the future of the universe will potentially be dominated by the expression of realities that are different from the physical one. Imagine just very simply when Apple or whoever else are going to successfully develop AR devices that will be as ubiquitous as smartphones today. That will imply a lot in the physical world. For example, advertising will disappear. The physical banners that you see today all over the cities or along highways will disappear. There will be no need for them. It will be much more effective to display advertising in augmented reality. But at the same time, if those are successful, by definition, all of us will experience the world in a way that those who don't have the augmented reality devices are unable to experience. And if our value creation and value transfer and value multiplication is going to come from that kind of system, the physical world will kind of disappear. It will still be the support system for our physical bodies, for a lot of infrastructure. We will still need the sun to shine and to give us the energy it generates. But a lot of things will change. I love your questions, and I'm very happy for the questions coming. Thank you, Davide Bora, for this. Now, finishing, because I went off in a tangent talking about augmented reality, immersive virtual reality is going to be important not to reconstruct what does exist, but to give birth to things that cannot. Because to go in a virtual world and experience the same things that we can experience in the physical world as well is not going to be very exciting. My best example is I want to walk on Mars. I want to fly as a bird. I want to be one of those creatures that we see in the movie in Avatar. Those are the things, and of course, I am not excessively creative, so the examples may not even be appropriate for everything we can do, but those are the things that I want to do in a VR world. I always choose a female avatar, for example, because I know how it is to be a male. I want to experience, as little as that gives me today, how it is to be a female. Going to another question from Gio, how do you display the messages from Facebook as well as from Twitter and YouTube and the other systems on the big screen? Well, this is one of the features of StreamYard.com, which is a platform that I am using. I'm out of focus, by the way. Why am I out of focus? Sorry, it's not what you want. Oh, you see, I am now in focus. So the platform that I'm using for streaming across the various social media outlets is called StreamYard, and it allows me not to go crazy because I see all the comments in just one window without having to jump from one to another, and it is not perfect. So, for example, I am seeing my Facebook page comments, but not my Facebook account comments, or vice versa. I am checking now in real time, which is the right thing. Yes, I'm seeing the Facebook account comments. So let me go to the Facebook page and see if I can see the Facebook page comments. Oh yeah, all right, sorry. I'm so happy. For some reason I was under the impression that I could only see one and not the other. So Eda, in the meantime, is saying that she is half Albanian, half Bosnian, living in Italy right now. And she says that she would love to keep the discussion, or continue the discussion about the future of food, and I will be very happy to. David is commenting on the fact that Jaron Lanier was speaking in about VR. Well, I don't think it was 69. Jaron was probably in not even high school in 69. He was probably in middle school. But yes, Jaron was. We worked together in the late 80s when VPL Research was the pioneer of virtual reality with the data glove with fiber optics, and certainly the data glove was a fantastic device. David is correcting 74. Still a bit too early, but I don't know. Okay, so let's go to the questions on the website. Let me refresh and then share it with you. There you go. So the first question that bubbles up in based on the votes is, how do you decide what to learn? Well, I am very curious. I'm an omnivore, both in terms of biological food as well as brain food. And so I like to go breadth first, right? Depth first or breadth first are two search algorithms. There are many, many others, and they can be appropriate to give the optimal results in various circumstances. And going depth first basically means that you decide and you go deep in something. In the analogy of knowledge accumulation, you would say you let me see if it comes up, because I wrote about this some time ago. Okay, yeah, this could be it. Let me visit the page actually. So the beautiful documentary Jiro Dreams of Sushi, which I highly recommend, tells the story of this sushi chef who decided when he was 12 or 13 years old that all he wanted to do was to make sushi. And today he has a Michelin-starred restaurant in Tokyo, actually in an underground station, where having a dinner needs a 2-year reservation and costs $400 or $500. But Jiro is there every day, and when he ends the day, he wants to be ready next day to do a better sushi than the day before. So I would say that his successful search strategy for what to learn was depth first. We don't know what he dreamed of before deciding that it was sushi, but after finding sushi, he just kept sushi. Now, there are other strategies as well. So another wonderful person who is Richard Saul Wurman, the founder of the TED conference that was then sold to Chris Anderson, the current director, and then through Laura Stein gave birth to TEDx, the licensed format that is now all over the world. Well, Richard says that his strategy is not depth first that goes through specialization, but it is breadth first across different fields, where you can go deeper and deeper, deeper and deeper, until you find what you are looking for. And this cross-fertilization, I think, is an evolutionary adaptive strategy where Richard actually says he's toppling silos. He wants to allow people to derive not only enjoyment but also value from the specializations that are all over. So, to go back to the question, the way that I decide what to learn is to allow myself to be cross-fertilized by different opportunities and then grab one or the other, either because some person presents it to me and I realize that it is important in that moment, or some other circumstance. So, for example, I did my first live stream 13 years ago, right? And then I did 2 days live stream 10 years ago, 2 days for 8 hours each day. It was for a conference that I organized together with Alex Lightman, and my son Cosimo was responsible for the streaming. And then I knew I would live stream, but I didn't bother insisting on why I wasn't doing it and should I doing it. I trusted that when the moment came, I would. And that is what I am doing right now. So the second question, and I mean the first three, as you see, because we don't have a gazillion votes each of the questions received. And thank you, because, you did this just a few minutes ago. So wonderful participation. I greatly appreciate it. Anyway, the question is, when will human-level AI be possible? Now, let me tell you, human-level AI is already around us. Actually, superhuman AI is already around us. Superhuman AI doesn't even need what you would call AI, because our calculators, our pocket calculators, are superhuman with regards to arithmetic. We cannot rely on our memory to do arithmetic and pretend to beat a pocket calculator. And there are an ever-growing number of activities that are done better by our software and hardware machines, whether analog or digital, than a mere unaided human can. Cars run better than humans, and I tell you, airplanes fly much better than humans, right? So the question is really, when are we going to get artificial general intelligence, which is a machine that learns to learn to learn? And we are getting very close. We are getting there faster than even specialists have expected. Ray Kurzweil, for example, is revising the original date. He said 2035 originally for the first AGI, and 2045 for that to be $1,000 in cost. So let's say $1 billion in 2035, and then $1,000 that everybody can afford in 2045. But he has revised that to 2028. So Ray Kurzweil, one of the most respected and most popular people who think about this question deeply, is saying, I thought it would be 2035, but now I think it's 2028. And I call that revision due to the new paradigm of jolting technologies, technologies whose rate of acceleration is increasing, and artificial intelligence is one of those, where the mere exponential is not enough to understand them. Alex Lightman from California is commenting that we are getting to the 10th anniversary of the H+ Summit. And Alex, I want you on the show as a guest, if you can join me, to comment on these past 10 years and look 10 years ahead, and then have on the show other guests as well who were speakers then, and can join again to comment on our science fiction world, because we are living in a science fiction world. Alex is also asking, what is the technology setup that I am using? And there's a lot of stuff, right? A green screen, a MacBook Pro, a semi-pro webcam, a semi-pro microphone, lights that make sure that the green screen is not overtaxing the CPU, an LED floodlight in front of me so that my face is also nicely illuminated. And then, of course, the software stack that allows me to do the things that I'm doing relatively fluidly while I'm speaking to you, as well as to do other things like streaming on all the platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and so on. So let's go to the next question on the list. How do you not succumb to the information overload? Well, thank you for the trust. You expect that I don't, but you don't know if I do. So let me tell you, I definitely succumb to information overload. I can illustrate that very easily. All the books that you see, I haven't read them all. Now, are these books an unending source of inspiration? Absolutely. Am I happy to have invested the capital I have for physically owning them? Yes. Are electronic books superior? In many ways, even though you cannot smell them, you cannot touch them, you cannot have these beautiful multicolored displays. Yes, they are. And I am buying physical books still. I love gifting physical books, but I am buying probably 90% of my books in electronic form now, where I am expecting the copyright system to be reformed so that the cross-referencing can work much better, and where I know that the note-taking and footnoting and other things that we can do on the electronic format are not logged in the proprietary system, but can be transported because I own those notes and I want to be able to bring them with me. Alex is insisting. 3 question marks at the end of the question. What software? So Alex, I am happy to tell you, for example, StreamYard, and let me actually grab the referral code because these nice people at StreamYard give you money if you give them money, meaning that you can use your invite link to sign up, and if you do, oh my God, this is too long. Sorry, this is not going to work. Okay, why don't I create a bit.ly quickly? This is silly. Okay, let me do not that. Anyway, it's a few dollars. I will create a bit.ly so that rather than showing this silly thing, I can show a short one, or actually the nice guys at StreamYard, and we should tweet at them, should create /David Orban, and then you go there, you sign up, and you get the goodie from the referral, right? That is how it should work. And Alex, back to your question, there are other pieces of software as well, but this is the main one really. I use Zoom, I use Restream.io, and from time to time one or the other can be more convenient, but for the moment StreamYard is really a very good thing, and you have to pay to get all the things that I am doing. Mac Fabio Macchitella is saying Paulino Sebastian Loyola Castillo, and then Robert Croissant Robot. Fascinating. So the questions, right? We were at the questions. Let's get a new one. Oh, I didn't finish the overload, right? Because the overload, so the ebooks and correlating your notes on the ebooks is just an example. You have to keep exploring tools that enable you to correlate information. Having information is meaningless. Managing information is necessary. Learning to learn how to do that is what matters. And let me tell you what I mean by learning to learn. Okay, here it is. And we had an episode with Roman Yampolsky about AI, I should do a highlight where we talk about this. When Big Blue beat Kasparov playing chess, and Big Blue was a machine by IBM, he couldn't learn. It couldn't learn. Big Blue was taught how to play chess, and it wasn't able to do anything about it. Either it was playing well or it was not. But the feedback loop was very slow. Through the IBM programmers, their brains, their eyes, their brains, their fingers on the keyboard, changing the way that Big Blue would play chess. Very slow feedback loop. AlphaGo from Google, 20 years later, a bit more, rather than being taught how to play Go, learned how to play Go. And it was able to look at all the games that humans played, digest those games, and learn how to play Go so well that it was able to beat the world champion of Go, Lee Sedol. And that was a watershed. But, and this is important, Google didn't stop. And Google created a new version called AlphaGo Zero that did not rely on the human examples of all the games in databases. It would be able to learn just based on the rules and playing against itself. It would be able to evaluate the strategies that it was building, and it was faster, it used less resources, and it beat not only itself, not only thousands of human players, but it beat AlphaGo as well. And that was AlphaGo Zero, that was able to learn rather than just learn, right? But Google didn't stop there. Google then went on and created AlphaZero. And AlphaZero was able to apply this approach not only to Go, but also to chess and also to shoju, a third game, different but similar. So AlphaZero did this even faster with even fewer resources and beat AlphaGo Zero and AlphaGo. AlphaZero was able to learn. Now, what AlphaZero still cannot do, and it is the next challenge, is to move one piece of knowledge in a given domain to another domain, to generalize and say, wow, the way I learn from books, the strategies of learning from books applies to the strategies for learning from movies. And why don't I transpose that? So as you manage information overload, don't worry about pieces of data that go by. Concentrate on strategies. Concentrate on the ability of learning to learn to learn. Let's go to the next question. Is it true that you have a chip in your hand, and what can you do with it? Yes, it is. I can't show it to you really because it is under my skin. And what I do at conferences typically after I gave a speech is to let people touch it because you can feel it. And the chip can do very, very little. You can do much more with your phone than not with the chip. The only advantage is that you can lose the phone, and unless somebody carves it out of you, out of the skin, nothing much, right? even though there are new versions. For example, and if you want to get one, you go to dangerousthings.com. And dangerousthings.com will be happy to sell you a kit. And then you can either self-inject, or you can go to a piercing studio where a piercing artist will be happy to inject it into you. And the guy who did it to me said that his clientele was very upset that he was doing this. They were saying, yes, tattoos and branding and piercings and body modification. Chips under the skin? That's too weird. We don't want to go there, and we want to have nothing to do with somebody like you and your studio because you went overboard. And that is an example of a reaction of a human to jolting technologies, right? You can get acquainted with going with an airplane rather than with a car. You can get acquainted to using a smartphone instead of a traditional non-smartphone. But your adaptability has limits. And this is an example that for many people is beyond the limits of their adaptability. And when at conferences I ask people, here is the chip that I spoke about, and you can feel it under my skin of the hand, they refuse to want to touch it. They prefer not to believe. They prefer not to verify. They prefer their cozy reality, which may be an ever-shrinking domain of a larger reality that we are building and you are building. And of course, that is what is happening with governments in times of COVID. Because even though they are seeing the examples of what to do or what not to do, and they are told this is going to be a wave that takes away all your certainties, they still cannot do the right thing, or they do it too late. Emiliano is asking another question. Will AI take over humans, and when it is going to happen? So the question there is, of course, very important, and we will dedicate many episodes to this. But just to give you a short answer, the answer is humans will merge with machines in order to together swarm out in the universe and explore with amazement and awe the incredible beauty and adventures that await us. Our teenage science fiction dreams of meat in a tin can flying among the stars is beautiful and naive, and it is never going to happen. Even Mars is so hostile that it will take 100 times the effort or 1,000 times the effort that Elon Musk currently tells us it is going to take in order to be able to colonize Mars. Are we going to? Oh yeah, it is necessary that we do. But it will be probably the last effort that we can believe to do. Not even the colonization of the asteroid belt is compatible with human biology, and it is going to be so much easier to just become machines. And yeah, it is going to be all right, because we will evolve. Whatever limits of adaptability we suffer from and under today, we will be able to overcome that, because those of us who will are going to be the ones to live among the stars. And Neuralink is close. I mean, next 20 years, okay. Of course, in biological terms, it is very close. Biology didn't feel the need to invent telepathy, but we are, right? And not in the course of millions of years, but in the course after inventing the concept to actually making it just a few hundred years. So, what should businesses do with COVID-19? Well, there are wonderful opportunities that COVID-19 presents. And Max Tube Broad says, "Hi, David. I would love to hear from Max Tube Broad, but I'm afraid it's a bot." Let's see. Max Tube Broad, if you're not a bot, ask a meaningful question. All right. I don't mind bots, right? Bots have rights. Bots should have rights. We should make sure that we understand how to manage robot rights before they even ask, and start endowing them with rights and design a society that can accommodate robots. Because if we wait until they start asking and we don't think ahead, that will be another jolting moment. So, COVID-19 presents incredible opportunities. In the past, wars were the destructive force that created the empty field for new solutions to take root when the time came. Revolutions were bloody and killed millions of people. So every family suffering the loss of a family member, every friend mourning the death of a friend, is terrible. And isn't it amazing that we care? Care enough that we are doing everything we can against the enemy that we can unite, that unites us, right? Not the alien from the stars, the alien from within. The alien that was not unexpected, but we were unprepared, and now we are getting ready. And also an alien that is creating a field of open opportunities, that is pushing me to do these live streams, that is pushing you to ask your wonderful questions, that is pushing us to really make it happen. There are other questions that are important. I love, what is your mission exactly? Right? No, what is your mission? What is your mission exactly? And I already see what is the difference between the questions that are coming in from the comments and the questions that are voted upon on the platform that I myself wanted and provided, right? Very, very interesting differences. Did you realize the questions on the platform are anonymous, which is fine. I mean, we didn't get any question that was inappropriate. I am not popular enough to attract trolls yet, but I wouldn't mind to be able to address the person who wants to know what is my mission exactly. I have many missions, right? One of the important missions is to understand how technology co-evolves with humanity and what does it mean for society. And you can go to the website of Network Society that I created as an organization, now a group of different organizations, advisory, investing, consulting, media, and learning. We don't call it education. Because I believe that current technologies are leading towards decentralization and new, more resilient and robust social structures will emerge that will outcompete the nation states, and we will realize that our global challenges like climate change, pandemics, preventing an asteroid killing us, or thermonuclear war, or so many of the real objectives to build a society of abundance, inclusion, emancipation, and empowerment in the 21st century cannot be answered with the social infrastructure of the 20th century. That is an important part of my mission that I am exploring together with you. We will go back to these questions and many others. I want to greatly thank you for this fun hour we spent together. And we will do other AMAs. And we will go back to some of the questions. Please hold me accountable so that any question that hasn't been answered on today's AMA will be answered. Searching for the question live streams daily. I invite you to come and visit davidorban.com/SFTQL to learn more about it. Also to join our Discord server. Watch the previous episodes where you can learn more about the themes that we cover. For example, for Alex Lightman, if he's still watching, we dedicated several episodes to the various software and hardware tools. And you are also welcome to sign up on my newsletter. I will tell you on a weekly basis the things that I am doing and I am passionate about. And finally, if you feel so inclined, because you are enjoying the things that I am doing, you are welcome to support the show on Patreon, going to patreon.com/DavidOrban. So thank you again, and I will see you tomorrow.